Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a fascinating look at top 4 first, up the 1976 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, is a fascinating and highly sought-after piece of American numismatics, especially among collectors who appreciate coins that combine national history with distinctive design. Although it is not an extremely rare coin in ordinary circulated condition, its importance comes from its bicentennial connection, attractive patriotic reverse, and place in the famous Kennedy half-dollar series. This issue was created to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence, giving it a powerful historical identity that continues to captivate enthusiasts. For collectors, finding a sharply struck example with beautiful surfaces can feel like discovering a small tangible connection to the past. Its popularity has also received renewed attention during the United States' 250th anniversary celebrations in 2026, making the 1976 bicentennial coinage particularly interesting to modern collectors. The historical story behind this coin begins with the United States bicentennial celebration. Congress authorized special circulating commemorative designs for the quarter, half dollar, and dollar so that Americans could carry pieces of the nation's 200-year history in everyday commerce. The Kennedy half dollar received a dual date, 1976, rather than a normal single year. Production began in the middle of the 1970s, with the coins entering production in 1975 and continuing through 1976. The Philadelphia Mint produced the no-mint mark business strike, while Denver produced the demarked version and San Francisco produced special collector issues. The half dollar's reverse design was selected from a national competition and features Independence Hall, creating a direct visual connection to Philadelphia and the founding era of the United States. One of the most remarkable features of the coin is its distinctive bicentennial artwork. On the obverse is the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy, originally designed by Gilroy Roberts and used throughout the Kennedy half-dollar series. The reverse, however, is completely different from the standard Kennedy half-dollar reverse used on other dates. It shows Independence Hall, with the inscription United States of America, half dollar, and EPLUOBUSUNUM, while the dual date 1976 emphasizes the nation's bicentennial celebration. The coin measures approximately 31 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 11.3 grams, and has a reeded edge. The Philadelphia clad issue is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center. The absence of a mint mark is an important identifying feature rather than evidence of an error. On the 1976 Philadelphia business strike, collectors expect to find no mint mark, while the Denver issue carries a D mint mark. Therefore, a genuine 1976 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark is normally identified as the Philadelphia issue. PCGS records approximately 234,308,000 Philadelphia business strikes, which means this particular issue is not rare simply because it lacks a mint mark. This distinction is extremely important because online claims sometimes describe every no-mint mark bicentennial half dollar as an extraordinary rarity. In reality, the real collector interest comes from condition, strike quality, varieties, errors, and exceptional certified grades rather than the absence of the mint mark alone. Rarity and condition become much more important when evaluating an individual example. Most circulated 1976 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollars are relatively common, and many were saved by the public when they were first released. PCGS notes that bicentennial half dollars remain among the most frequently encountered Kennedy halves in rolls today. Nevertheless, truly exceptional coins can become much more interesting. A specimen with clean surfaces, strong detail, attractive luster, and minimal marks can command substantially more attention than an ordinary circulated example. Collectors particularly watch the highest mint state grades because even common modern coins can become condition rarities when only a small number reach the finest certified levels. The market value of the no-mint mark 1976 Kennedy half-dollar therefore depends heavily on condition. A normal circulated clad example generally has little premium over its 50-cent face value, while attractive uncirculated pieces may bring several dollars or more depending on grade and demand. Certified high-grade examples can be considerably more valuable. PCGS currently lists a substantial guide value for the finest grades of this Philadelphia issue, while its auction records show that an exceptionally graded MS-67 example realized $1,997.50 at Heritage Auctions in 2014. PCGS also records an earlier auction result of $3,105 for a high-grade example. These results demonstrate that extraordinary condition can transform an otherwise common bicentennial half-dollar into a serious collector piece, although such prices should not be interpreted as the normal value of an ordinary coin. Another reason collectors find this issue appealing is the existence of different bicentennial versions. Besides the Philadelphia no-mint mark and Denver D-mint mark clad business strikes, San Francisco produced clad and 40% silver collector versions. These should not be confused with the Philadelphia coin simply because they share the same 1976 dates and general design. The silver versions were made for collectors and can have substantially different values depending on their exact type and condition. Likewise, proof coins carry the S-mint mark. This variety within one bicentennial year gives collectors an enjoyable opportunity to build a complete set while learning how mint marks, composition, finish, and production method affect numismatic value. For anyone examining a 1976 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark, careful inspection is essential. First, confirm that the date reads 1976 and that the coin has the expected bicentennial Independence Hall reverse. Next, examine the surfaces under good lighting for scratches, contact marks, discoloration, unusual doubling, die characteristics, or other potential mint-made abnormalities. Weight and appearance can also help distinguish the common clad issue from silver-clad versions, although professional authentication is preferable when a coin appears unusual. Collectors should be especially cautious about dramatic online claims suggesting that every bicentennial half-dollar is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The vast majority are not, and value is determined by the specific coin rather than the date alone. Proper preservation is another important part of collecting these historic half-dollars. A coin with attractive original surfaces can lose collector appeal if it is scratched, harshly cleaned, or improperly stored. Instead of repeatedly handling the surfaces, collectors should hold the coin by its edges and use appropriate protective holders designed for coins. For potentially valuable examples, professional grading and authentication from a respected grading service can provide an objective assessment of condition and help establish marketability. Collectors can also learn a great deal by comparing certified examples, studying auction records, and discussing varieties with experienced numismatists. The goal is not simply to own an old-looking coin, but to understand exactly what makes a particular example desirable. Ultimately, the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is a remarkable blend of American history, artistic design, and modern numismatic collecting. It commemorates the nation's bicentennial, carries the iconic portrait of President Kennedy, and replaces the traditional reverse with a powerful image of Independence Hall. Although the Philadelphia issue is plentiful overall, exceptional condition can make individual examples far more desirable, and the coin's historical importance gives it enduring appeal. For collectors, it represents more than a 50-cent denomination. It is a tangible connection to America's 200th birthday and an important chapter in the Kennedy half-dollar series. With the United States celebrating its 250th anniversary in 2026, the 1976 bicentennial half-dollar has gained an especially timely place in the spotlight, ensuring that this patriotic coin will continue captivating enthusiasts and remaining a prized treasure for generations of numismatists. Next up, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is a fascinating piece of American numismatics that continues to captivate collectors because it combines the iconic Kennedy design with an important chapter in the evolution of the U.S. half-dollar series. Although many examples are readily available, attractive high-grade specimens and recognized varieties can command considerably greater collector interest. The absence of a mint mark identifies this issue as a Philadelphia minted coin, making it particularly useful to collectors assembling a complete Kennedy half-dollar date and mint mark collection. For enthusiasts, the coin represents more than its 50-cent face value. It is a tangible connection to early 1970s America, a period of major political, cultural, and economic change. Its enduring popularity comes from the Kennedy legacy, its attractive design, and the possibility that an ordinary-looking example may contain a collectible variety. The historical background of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar reaches back to the introduction of the series in 1964, following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. The United States Mint moved remarkably quickly to create a circulating half-dollar honoring the former president, with chief engraver Gilroy Roberts designing the obverse portrait and Frank Gasparo creating the reverse. By 1972, the Kennedy half-dollar had already become an important part of American coinage. The Philadelphia Mint produced the no-mint mark version discussed here, while Denver produced the D-mint mark issue. The 1972 Philadelphia production totaled 153,180,000 coins, making it a substantial issue rather than a conventionally scarce date. Nevertheless, its historical setting gives it lasting appeal because every surviving example reflects the coinage of an America navigating the early 1970s. One of the most distinctive characteristics of this coin is its familiar Kennedy portrait on the obverse. John F. Kennedy faces left, surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1972. The reverse presents the Great Seal-inspired design featuring a heraldic eagle, a shield, arrows, olive branches, stars, and the inscriptions United States of America, half-dollar, and EPLURIBUSUNUM. The coin measures approximately 30.61 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 11.3 grams, and has a reeded edge with 150 reeds. Unlike the earlier 1964 Kennedy half-dollar and the 1965-1970 silverclad issues, the 1972 Philadelphia coin is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center, meaning it has no silver content. The lack of a mint mark on this particular coin is completely normal and should not automatically be interpreted as a minting error. Philadelphia coins of this period generally carried no mint mark, while coins produced at Denver displayed a D. Therefore, a genuine 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark is normally identified as the Philadelphia issue. This distinction is extremely important for collectors because some online descriptions incorrectly portray every missing mint mark as a rare error. In reality, the no mint mark characteristic is expected for the Philadelphia 1972 issue. What can make a particular example more interesting is its grade, surface quality, strike, tunning, or a genuine recognized die variety. Understanding this difference allows collectors to separate ordinary characteristics from genuinely scarce varieties. Rarity becomes much more interesting when collectors move beyond the standard 1972 Philadelphia coin and begin examining varieties. PCGS recognizes a 1972 50C DDO FS1 variety, referring to a double die obverse. A genuine double die is created during the die-making process and can produce distinctive double design elements that are different from ordinary machine doubling or damage. This variety is therefore much more significant than simply finding a coin with an unusual-looking date or lettering. Collectors should be careful, however, because many apparent doubling effects on circulated coins are caused by mechanical damage or striking characteristics rather than a true doubled die. Authentication becomes particularly valuable when a suspected variety appears promising. Condition is another major factor that can dramatically change the desirability of a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar. A heavily circulated example may show scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, and wear across Kennedy's portrait and the reverse details. By contrast, an uncirculated coin with original mint luster, strong details, clean fields, and attractive eye appeal can be much more desirable. Modern-clad Kennedy halves were often saved by collectors, but that does not mean every surviving example is pristine. Contact marks can accumulate during production, transportation, and storage, making exceptionally clean coins more difficult to locate. For serious collectors, a certified mint state example can provide a useful benchmark for judging condition and comparing the coin with other specimens in the series. The market value of a normal 1972 Philadelphia Kennedy half-dollar should be approached realistically. In circulated condition, an ordinary example generally trades around its 50-cent face value, with modest premiums possible for attractive pieces or collector demand. Uncirculated examples can bring several dollars depending on grade, quality, and marketplace conditions. The upper end changes dramatically when a coin is an exceptionally graded specimen or a recognized variety. PCGS records an auction result of $2,899.99 for an MS-66 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, although that particular sale was an eBay transaction, and PCGS notes that it is not responsible for the accuracy or authenticity of eBay listings. PCGS also records a $330 auction result for a certified MS-62 1972 DDO FS1, a one double die variety. These results demonstrate why collectors should never assign a single value to every 1972 no-mint mark half-dollar. The visual appeal of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is another reason it remains popular with collectors. Kennedy's portrait gives the obverse a dignified and immediately recognizable appearance, while the reverse combines the eagle, shield, stars, arrows, and olive branches into a powerful representation of American national symbolism. High-grade examples can display bright original luster across the fields and devices, while naturally toned pieces may develop attractive colors over decades of storage. However, collectors should distinguish natural toning from artificial alteration and should avoid cleaning coins simply to make them appear brighter. A coin with original surfaces is generally more desirable than one that has been harshly polished or chemically treated. For collectors searching for a valuable 1972 no-mint mark Kennedy half-dollar, the best approach is careful examination rather than assuming that every unusual-looking coin is rare. Start by confirming the 1972 date and absence of a mint mark, then inspect the obverse lettering, date, portrait, and surrounding design for evidence of a recognized double die variety. Examine the reverse as well for unusual characteristics, while remembering that the famous no FG variety belongs to the 1972 D Kennedy half-dollar, not the ordinary 1972 Philadelphia no-mint mark issue. The 1972 D no FG variety is separately recognized by PCGS and is genuinely scarce, so it should not be confused with the Philadelphia coin. For potentially valuable examples, professional authentication and grading can provide much greater confidence than relying solely on photographs or online claims. Ultimately, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is a fascinating blend of American history, artistry, and numismatic discovery. Its Philadelphia origin, substantial production, copper-nickel composition, iconic Kennedy portrait, and connection to the early 1970s make it an appealing addition to a U.S. coin collection. While the ordinary circulated example is generally not a high-dollar rarity, exceptional condition, and recognized varieties can transform individual specimens into much more desirable collector pieces. The certified auction records for high-grade and double-die examples demonstrate the importance of condition and variety rather than simply the date itself. For numismatists worldwide, this coin offers an enjoyable opportunity to study history, design, mint production, grading, and die varieties all in one piece. It remains a prized treasure for collectors who appreciate the story behind American coinage, and a reminder that sometimes the most fascinating discoveries begin with taking a closer look at an apparently ordinary half-dollar. Next up, the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar without a visible mint mark is a fascinating piece of modern American numismatics, combining presidential history, classic U.S. coin artistry, and the enduring popularity of the Kennedy series. Although it is sometimes mistakenly described as a Franklin Kennedy half-dollar, the correct name is the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar because the coin carries the portrait of President John F. Kennedy. For collectors, this issue is particularly interesting because the absence of a mint mark is not an error. It identifies the coin as a product of the Philadelphia Mint, where Kennedy half-dollars of this date were struck. With a mintage of 13,107,633 pieces, it is not considered a major rarity in ordinary circulated grades, yet attractive examples become increasingly desirable as condition improves. The coin captivates enthusiasts because it represents an important period in the development of the Kennedy half-dollar series, while also offering collectors an affordable opportunity to own a piece of American monetary history. Its combination of historical symbolism, recognizable design, and scarcity at the highest grades gives it the character of a prized treasure for serious Kennedy half-dollar enthusiasts. The historical story behind the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar reaches back more than 2 decades before the coin itself was produced. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, shortly after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, as a national tribute to the popular young president. By 1986, the series had already undergone major changes in composition, moving away from the original 90% silver format and becoming a copper-nickel-clad circulating coin. The 1986 Philadelphia issue, therefore, belongs to a later chapter in the Kennedy half-dollar story, reflecting the United States Mint's continuation of Kennedy's image on American coinage long after his presidency. The Philadelphia Mint was responsible for producing the 1986 P circulation issue, while the Denver Mint produced the corresponding 1986 D version. Because Philadelphia coins from this period normally carry no mint mark, a blank area near the date should not automatically be interpreted as a missing mark error. Instead, that characteristic is an important identification clue connecting the coin to Philadelphia production. In this way, the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar serves as a tangible connection to the past, linking the economic and cultural landscape of the 1980s with the enduring national memory of President Kennedy. One of the most captivating aspects of the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar is its instantly recognizable design. The obverse features a left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts, with the inscriptions "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date 1986 surrounding the presidential portrait. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, displays the Great Seal-inspired heraldic eagle beneath a cluster of stars, accompanied by the inscriptions United States of America, half-dollar, and EPLUBUSUNUM. The coin measures approximately 30.6 millimeters in diameter, has a reeded edge, and weighs about 11.34 grams according to NGC's specifications. Its composition is copper-nickel-clad, copper rather than the silver composition associated with many early Kennedy halves. The contrast between Kennedy's detailed portrait and the symbolic reverse gives the coin a strong visual presence, especially when the surfaces remain bright and well preserved. On an exceptionally clean example, the original luster can make the fields appear remarkably vibrant, while sharply defined lettering and portrait details add to its overall eye appeal. The phrase 1986 P without mint mark deserves special attention because it can easily create confusion among beginning collectors. On Kennedy half-dollars struck at Philadelphia during this era, the absence of a mint mark is completely normal. In other words, collectors should not assume that a missing P represents a minting mistake. The important identification combination is the 1986 date plus the normal Philadelphia appearance without a mint mark. Genuine varieties or mint errors would require separate evidence, such as unusual doubling, die characteristics, striking abnormalities, or another documented variety. The standard 1986P issue itself is not famous for an extraordinary double die variety that would automatically turn an ordinary coin into a spectacular rarity. This distinction is important because modern coins can sometimes be advertised with exaggerated claims about supposed errors. A careful collector should therefore distinguish between a normal Philadelphia issue and a genuinely documented mint error. When an unusual example appears, professional attribution and certification can be valuable before assigning a premium to it. Rarity is where the 1986P Kennedy $half becomes particularly interesting. With more than 13 million examples struck, the date is not rare in the traditional sense, particularly in circulated grades. Many surviving pieces can be found in ordinary condition, and their market value is generally close to face value. However, numismatic rarity does not always depend simply on the original mintage. The real challenge can be locating coins that survived with exceptionally attractive surfaces and very high mint state grades. PCGS commentary specifically notes that the 1986P is common through approximately MS65, while MS67 becomes scarce, MS67 Plus becomes very scarce, and MS68 or better is exceptionally difficult. PCGS population information likewise demonstrates that the highest grade examples represent only a tiny portion of the coins submitted for professional grading. This creates an important distinction between mintage rarity and condition rarity. Millions may have been struck, but very few may survive with the combination of pristine surfaces, strong strike, original luster, and superior eye appeal required for the highest grades. Condition is therefore one of the most important factors when evaluating a 1986P Kennedy $half. A heavily circulated example with scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, or wear generally has little premium beyond its basic monetary value. An attractive about uncirculated or mint state specimen can be considerably more interesting to collectors, while certified MS66 and MS67 pieces enter a much more specialized market. At the upper end, tiny differences in surface preservation can dramatically affect desirability because grading standards become increasingly demanding. A coin that looks nearly perfect to the unaided eye may still receive a lower grade because of small contact marks or subtle imperfections. Collectors searching for a premium 1986P should examine Kennedy's cheek and hair, the open fields, the lettering, and the reverse surfaces for distracting marks or signs of wear. Original luster is also important because a bright, naturally preserved coin can be substantially more appealing than an ordinary circulated example. The scarcity of truly elite specimens is what gives this otherwise obtainable date a fascinating condition-based collecting challenge. When it comes to market value, realism is essential. The 1986P Kennedy $half is not normally a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars simply because it has no mint mark. NGC's July 2026 price information places circulated examples around $0, $60, $0, $75, while its listed mint state values rise gradually with grade, reaching approximately $175 at MS67. These figures demonstrate how dramatically condition can influence the market. Ordinary circulated pieces may therefore be inexpensive, while certified high-grade examples can command meaningful premiums. PCGS also emphasizes that MS66 examples remain relatively affordable, whereas MS67 and especially MS68 specimens are considerably scarcer. Consequently, a realistic collecting range might extend from around face value levels for circulated coins to several dollars or tens of dollars for attractive mint state pieces, with exceptional certified specimens potentially reaching the low hundreds. A genuinely documented major mint error or an extraordinary top-grade example could command a different price, but such pieces should be evaluated individually rather than assuming every 1986P $half is valuable. For collectors hoping to build a strong Kennedy half-dollar collection, the 1986p is an excellent issue to study because it teaches the difference between an ordinary coin and a condition rarity. Start by confirming the date and recognizing that the lack of a mint mark is normal for Philadelphia. Next, inspect the coin under good lighting without aggressively cleaning or polishing it. Look for original luster, attractive surfaces, strong details, and minimal contact marks. If the coin appears exceptionally well preserved, professional certification from a respected grading service can help establish its condition and provide a permanent record of the grade. Collectors should also be cautious about advertisements claiming enormous values for ordinary examples simply because they are no mint mark coins. Comparing the piece with established grading references and documented market information is a far safer approach. For valuable specimens, protective holders and careful storage are essential, while unnecessary touching of the surfaces should be avoided because fingerprints and scratches can reduce the coin's appeal. Another reason the 1986p Kennedy half-dollar continues to captivate enthusiasts is its role within the broader Kennedy series. Collecting Kennedy halves is not simply about finding one rare coin. Many enthusiasts enjoy assembling complete date and mint mark runs and then upgrading individual pieces as better examples become available. In such a collection, the 1986p can serve as an important Philadelphia representative from the 1980s, especially when paired with the corresponding Denver issue and other dates from the same period. The coin also provides an opportunity to study how the Kennedy design evolved while remaining remarkably consistent over decades. For newer collectors, it offers an approachable entry point because ordinary examples are relatively obtainable, while advanced collectors can pursue the much more difficult high-grade versions. That broad range of collecting possibilities helps explain why Kennedy half-dollars remain popular among both casual hobbyists and dedicated numismatists. The 1986p may not be the rarest Kennedy half-dollar ever made, but its condition, rarity, and historical connection give it a distinctive place in the series. Ultimately, the 1986p Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark represents a compelling blend of American history, presidential symbolism, artistry, and condition-based rarity. It should be remembered that the missing P is normal for a Philadelphia minted coin, not automatically an error, and that its original mintage of 13,107,633 means ordinary examples are relatively common. Yet the story changes dramatically when a coin survives in exceptional mint state condition. High-grade examples become much harder to locate, and the finest pieces can attract serious collector attention because of their scarcity, preservation, and visual appeal. With a realistic market ranging from roughly face value for circulated examples to around the low hundreds for exceptional certified pieces, the 1986p offers an engaging collecting opportunity without relying on exaggerated claims. It is a tangible connection to the Kennedy legacy and to America's coinage history of the 1980s, making it a rewarding addition to a well-rounded collection. For numismatists worldwide, the coin's enduring appeal lies not merely in what it may be worth today, but in the history, craftsmanship, and collecting story preserved in a small piece of American metal. Next coin, the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar, is a fascinating piece of American numismatic history, captivating enthusiasts with its connection to President John F. Kennedy, its classic mid-century design legacy, and its intriguing condition rarity. Although it is sometimes incorrectly called a Franklin Kennedy half-dollar, the proper designation is the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar, part of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series that began in 1964. Struck at the Denver Mint, this issue had a substantial production of 33,456,449 pieces, meaning ordinary circulated examples are not considered rare. However, the story becomes much more interesting when collectors search for exceptionally preserved mint state specimens. The 1980D is particularly appealing because high-grade examples become scarce, giving collectors a rewarding challenge when searching through older rolls, collections, or accumulations. Rather than being valuable simply because of its date or mint mark, this coin demonstrates how condition, preservation, and certified grade can transform an otherwise common issue into a prized treasure. For enthusiasts building complete Kennedy half-dollar collections, the 1980D remains an important and captivating representative of American coinage from the early 1980s. The historical background of the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar begins with the creation of the Kennedy half-dollar in 1964, following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. The United States moved quickly to honor the fallen president on its coinage, and the Kennedy half-dollar became one of the most recognizable commemorative-style circulating denominations in American history. By 1980, the coin had already passed through several important stages of composition. Beginning in 1971, the mint removed silver from regular Kennedy half-dollars and adopted a copper-nickel-clad composition, a major change from the silver issues of the 1960s. The 1980D, therefore, represents a later chapter in the Kennedy series, reflecting the transition toward modern U.S.-clad coinage. The coin was produced at the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark located beneath Kennedy's portrait. Its production occurred during a period when the half-dollar was becoming less commonly encountered in everyday commerce, adding another interesting dimension to its collecting history. In this sense, the 1980D provides a tangible connection to the past, preserving both the memory of Kennedy and the changing character of American coin production. The unique physical characteristics of the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar make it instantly recognizable. On the obverse, sculptor Gilroy Roberts created the left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, surrounded by Liberty, the date 1980, and the inscription "In God We Trust." On the reverse, Frank Gasparo created the heraldic eagle design based on the Great Seal of the United States, surrounded by stars and accompanied by United States of America, half-dollar, and EPLUBUSUNUM. The coin measures approximately 30.61 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 11.3 grams, and has a reeded edge with approximately 150 reeds. Its composition consists of 75% copper and 25% nickel outer layers bonded to a pure copper center, representing the standard clad composition used for Kennedy half-dollars beginning in 1971. These specifications give the coin its familiar silvery appearance, even though it contains no silver in its regular 1980D circulation composition. One of the most important details for collectors examining this particular coin is the D mint mark. Because the coin is designated 1980D, the D should appear below Kennedy's portrait on the obverse. If a supposed 1980D Kennedy half-dollar has no mint mark at all, collectors should pause before assuming that they have discovered an extremely rare error. The absence of a mint mark is normally associated with the 1980p Philadelphia issue, which had a separate mintage of 44,134,000 pieces. Therefore, a coin dated 1980 with no mint mark should generally be identified as a 1980p rather than a 1980D. This distinction is extremely important because online descriptions sometimes incorrectly label Philadelphia coins as 1980D no mint mark. A genuine mint mark error would require convincing evidence that the coin was struck under circumstances inconsistent with normal Philadelphia production, and simply having no D is not sufficient proof. Careful attribution is therefore essential, particularly when a coin is being considered for professional certification or a significant purchase. When considering rarity, the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar presents an excellent example of the difference between mintage rarity and condition rarity. More than 33 million examples were struck, so the regular coin is not scarce in the absolute sense. PCGS notes that 1980D Kennedy half-dollars can still be found in circulation, but examples graded MS-66 or higher become considerably more difficult to locate. The situation becomes even more dramatic at MS-67, where PCGS describes the grade as scarce, with fewer than 100 examples known in its cited assessment. At MS-68, the population becomes exceptionally small, with only a handful of examples reported and none finer in the referenced PCGS information. This makes the highest-grade 1980D coins genuinely fascinating to advanced collectors. The challenge is not finding a 1980D Kennedy half-dollar. The challenge is finding one with nearly flawless surfaces, strong strike quality, attractive original luster, and the preservation necessary to survive professional grading at the highest levels. Condition is therefore one of the greatest determining factors in the value and desirability of the 1980D. A circulated coin showing normal wear, scratches, contact marks, or dull surfaces will generally remain a modestly priced collectible. By contrast, an attractive uncirculated or mint state example can become much more interesting, particularly when it reaches the upper grades. Collectors should examine Kennedy's portrait, the open field surrounding the design, the lettering, and the reverse eagle for contact marks and abrasions. The brilliant surfaces of modern clad coins can easily reveal small imperfections, meaning that a coin that appears beautiful at first glance may not necessarily qualify for an elite grade. For collectors pursuing registry-quality pieces, even tiny marks can become significant. This condition sensitivity is what makes the 1980D especially rewarding. An ordinary example may be easy to locate, while an exceptionally preserved MS-67 or MS-68 specimen can represent a far more challenging numismatic achievement. The market value of the 1980D Kennedy half-dollar should be approached realistically rather than through exaggerated claims. Ordinary circulated examples generally have modest value, often around their 50-cent face value. While attractive uncirculated coins may bring a small premium depending on grade and demand, the real price separation occurs among professionally graded high-grade pieces. PCGS records an auction result of $4,935 for an MS-68 1980D Kennedy half-dollar sold by Heritage Auctions on October 29, 2015. This is an exceptional high-grade result and should not be interpreted as the normal value of every 1980D coin. Instead, it demonstrates how condition rarity can dramatically affect the market. A collector might reasonably encounter ordinary examples for small premium, while certified MS-65, MS-66 pieces can be more desirable, and high-grade MS-67, MS-68 examples can enter a substantially higher market tier. Auction prices can change over time, so the grade, certification, eye appeal, and current collector demand should always be considered when estimating a particular coin's worth. For collectors searching for a valuable 1980D, the best strategy is to focus on quality rather than simply the date. First, confirm that the coin actually carries the D-mint mark and has not been incorrectly described as a no-mint mark. 1980D, then examine the surfaces under good lighting, looking for original luster and minimal contact marks. Coins that appear especially clean and sharply struck may deserve closer attention. If a specimen appears to approach the upper mint state grades, professional certification can help establish its condition and authenticity. Collectors should also be cautious about claims involving supposed doubled dies or mysterious mint mark errors unless the variety has been properly documented. Keeping the coin in an appropriate protective holder and avoiding cleaning or polishing are equally important, because alterations can damage its collectible surfaces and potentially reduce its desirability. For particularly valuable specimens, established grading services, reputable dealers, and documented auction records provide much stronger evidence than unsupported online price claims. The 1980D also has strong appeal because it fits naturally into a broader Kennedy half-dollar collection. Collectors can pursue the series by date and mint mark, compare Philadelphia and Denver issues, or concentrate specifically on high-grade examples from the clad era. The Kennedy half-dollar itself is an unusual denomination in modern American commerce because it has been produced for decades, but has never circulated as frequently as the cent, nickel, dime, or quarter. That relative scarcity in everyday transactions helps explain why many Kennedy halves encountered by collectors have survived in better condition than ordinary pocket change coins, even though they can still show significant marks from storage, packaging, and handling. The 1980D is especially useful for collectors studying the early clad period, because it illustrates how the series continued the famous Kennedy design after the end of regular silver production. Its place within the series makes it more than simply another 50-cent piece. It is part of a continuing historical narrative that connects several generations of American coinage. Ultimately, the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar is a captivating blend of presidential history, artistic design, modern minting technology, and condition rarity. It is important to correct the idea that a 1980 without mint mark is automatically a rare error. A genuine Denver issue should bear the D mint mark, while a 1980 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is normally the Philadelphia issue. With 33,456,449 Denver examples struck, the standard 1980D is not a major mintage rarity, but exceptional grades can be genuinely scarce. The documented $4,935 MS-68 auction record illustrates the extraordinary premium that can develop when a common date coin survives in an elite condition. For collectors, the greatest treasure is therefore not merely discovering the date, but finding a beautifully preserved example with outstanding surfaces and a strong certified grade. Whether encountered in circulated condition or preserved as a spectacular mint state specimen, the 1980D remains a tangible connection to America's past and to the enduring legacy of John F. Kennedy. For numismatists worldwide, it offers an engaging reminder that sometimes the greatest collecting stories are hidden not in the number of coins produced, but in the remarkable few that survived in exceptional condition.